NASA sounds the alarm. Massive planetary anomaly detected, spreading worldwide, traced to unknown forces beneath Earth's crust. A new headline from sustainabilitytimes.com. Today we are joined with Michael Brown, who's going to talk to us about this anomaly and related to the Fatima Seer, Lucia, and a 1944 revelation that not many people are aware of, where the Fatima Seer describes her enlightenment regarding the third secret and how it is related to the Earth's core. Join us, brothers and sisters, as we break this down. Fatima prophecy awaits Earth.
Yeah, we get back to, again, Ron, the third secret, the famous third secret of Fatima. It does not appear to have played itself out as yet. You know, people thought because it involved the shooting of a bishop in white, and that seemed related to the shooting of John Paul II on a Fatima anniversary of May 13th back in the early 1980s, that it had come to its conclusion, to its fruition, but not according to a so-called enlightenment that the eldest seer and only living seer at the time from Fatima, Lucia del Santos, said, because she said in 1944 she was given this future, this enlightenment of future events pertinent to the third secret. There was the third, and Our Lady showed them an image, not so much a message, not words, an image of an angel touching the earth with a flaming sword in his left hand, actually, flashing out flames that looked as though they could set the whole planet on fire. But the Virgin Mary kind of quenched those flames. So people thought, well, a lot of the secrets seem to pertain to Russia, the rise of communism, World War. So the third secret seemed related to a nuclear war, a third war that Our Lady stops from occurring. And that could well be part of it. But Ron, there's more to it than that, because in 1944, Sister Lucy was given this understanding, and I'd like to quote her directly because it only does her justice. She said, this is from 1944, which of course is long after the 1917 apparitions. She said, the tip of that spear in the third secret as a flame unlatches and touches the axis of the earth, the axis, AXIS, and the earth shudders. Mountains, cities, towns, and villages with their inhabitants are set in motion to see the rivers and the clouds emerge from their limits, overflowing, bringing with them a whirlwind of houses and people in numbers that are impossible to count. She further said, it's the purification, or quoted the Virgin of saying, it's the purification of the world as it plunges into sin. Hate and ambition cause the destructive war. So it was more than we thought.
So that was the actual words of Sister Lucia that you just read.
That's right. She's quoting what she, quote, heard in an enlightenment in 1944. While she was, at the time, she was struggling with the request by the Pope, by her bishop, to release the third secret to them. And because she felt that while she needed to obey them, she needed to also obey the Virgin Mary, who had not given her permission to release it. And she was struggling with it at that time, and boom, all of a sudden she had this enlightenment, after which she felt she could release the image of the third secret. But it wasn't until she wrote a book shortly before she died, it was published, or shortly after she died, it was published, that included the enlightenment that I just read. So it seems to be pertinent to something in addition to war.
Says here, subhead went to explain NASA's latest research into the South Atlantic anomaly reveals a growing region of weakened magnetic intensity over South America, posing significant risks to satellite technology and prompting urgent scientific investigation. So this is related to the Earth's core. It says here, the sprawling region isn't just a quirk of Earth's magnetic field, it's a vulnerability. Here, the planet's protective magnetic intensity dips dramatically, creating a soft spot in the invisible shield that normally guards us from space's most dangerous radiation.
Well, anything that has to do with magnetism or and often gravity, electromagnetism, can cause such disruptions. I'm not a geophysicist. I don't pretend to understand the mechanics specifically of that, but uh, obviously there are things in flux and various forces. That's one. There's
Yes,
there's other indications, including in the prophetic realm, of people getting visions and near-death experiences, allegedly getting prophecies to do with our galaxy about to kind of shake up a little bit, uh, change from its current pattern. And of course, this would be a quote flame touching the axis of the Earth because it
right.
would greatly affect the planet. The axis of the Earth is kind of hypothetical pull through the Earth, and we're tilted at about, I think it's 24 degrees. It caught as it goes around the sun. That's what causes the season, is how far your part of the Earth is tilted or in or proximate to the sun. So anything that might disrupt that certainly would cause tremendous effects on Earth, and not just weather, Ron, but
Yes,
I think great geophysical events. And I don't think that science has come to terms, even with what you're reading with the magnetism and so forth, with the magnetic flux, has come to terms with anything that could cause quite that effect. We don't know what it might portend. We don't know what the secret might portend. Uh, but it's more. It seems like it's more than it couldn't be a comet hitting, because any comet, a comet would have to be 4 times the size of the moon to really significantly
right.
affect the axis, the tilt, and that's not the planetoid or something like that. That would be the end of everything. Period. This it, it's more likely something that's going to come from the sun. I mean, the sun is
Mm,
333,000 times the mass of the Earth. And we're seeing all these sun miracles, whether it's, of course, what happened in
good
1917 in
point.
October, or whether it's at Medjugorje and all these other sites of apparition where the sun seems to be indicating something. So, um, I, some, some type of a force out there that we're not
Mm,
conversant with, I think, is about to cause some changes on Earth, and not just from the Fatima prophecy, but also prophecies from places like Africa and so forth.
right. I've had a doctor, a Spanish doctor of geology on my show a couple of times before. His name is Dr. Antonio Yag, and he talks about the possibility of a dwarf sun or something like the planet X. I'm sure you've heard of Planet X. That has a unfamiliar rotation around the sun. Like there's the rotation of the planets, and then there's a unfamiliar rotation which rotates in a completely different orbit. And he says that this can be possibly what's happening with these shifts and disturbances in the Earth's atmosphere and in the core and axis and so on. And he says that this once this sun or planet X comes through our solar system and passes closer to Earth, that will cause dramatic shifts in the Earth's axis.
Well, it could be. I mean, I remember many years ago, 1999, I was doing research at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. That's the foremost astronomical unit in the United States government in science circles. And I went to interview a fellow who headed their comet and asteroid program. And I asked him at one point, we're talking about the Oort and the Kuiper belts, and I asked him at one point, uh, well, how many comets and asteroid bolides is what they call them, are there in our solar system? Because they go from like Neptune, or even some people say Mars, to way beyond Pluto, with planetoids that are as bigger than than Pluto, and that could be a planet X.
Right.
But
Yep.
anyway, I asked him, I said, how many objects are out there? And he said, about 65 million. I said, 65 million? How do you come up with a figure like that? He said, he looked at me and he said, it's a sheer guess. We don't know what's out there. We'd have no idea, especially when it comes to what they call long-term bolides, long-term comets, long-term asteroids, comets that may only come once every million years. How would we know about them?
Yes.
All of a sudden, this one other guy there I interviewed, when I asked him, this other astronomer there, what the likeliest scenario would be for a cataclysmic event to do with bolides, he said the likeliest catastrophe is that one day we wake up and there from the blind side of the sun comes a gigantic comet that we had no idea was even there. And we have no idea where it's going to go. But sure, there can be stuff out there that's causing effects here or that is behind the sun right now. We could be clueless, no question.
Yep. I want to also read a quote that you have in the article there from Maria Esperanza, who also had a similar prophecy. She once warned that the Earth's core is not in balance. This, she said, will cause major geophysical events, including in North America. So they're two really well-known, seers that have said something about this, about the Earth's core or axis. So it's quite interesting.
It is. And, Ron, if you look at Cabello Rwanda, which are approved apparitions, one of the, there's 3 or 4 visionaries who was officially approved by the Vatican. She said to me during an interview when I was in Cabello, Rwanda, that one of her visions was of mountains collapsing and she saw rocks hitting each other and sparking, ignescent, I guess you'd call it, and so forth. Some type of geophysical event. And I guess that gets back to this idea, maybe the core is not in balance. And who knows what that may mean, because we're not even sure, our scientists are not even sure, our geophysicists, what the core of the Earth is, what it consists of. There's theories, but we can't know for sure. You can't drop a camera down there. I think the deepest hole is like 9 miles or something like that. We're talking here thousands of miles. So we have no idea what all could happen. No one could, either underneath our feet or way up above our heads. Mm-hmm. But we do know one thing, and that's that without God's protection, anything can happen. And everything would tend towards chaos, to entropy, except for God holding things together in our favor thus far. And I hope we continue to have that favor.
Yes. Just before we finish on this topic, Sister Lucia saw that Saint Michael in her third vision was holding a flaming sword, but he never actually hit that sword onto the earth. Is that correct? It was preserved, or it was stopped by Our Lady? Is that a correct interpretation?
It was, his sword was, it was flashing out flames, but the flames were, I wouldn't say put out, but they were overshadowed by Our Lady, quenched. It made impotent, I guess, is the only way of phrasing it. It looked like it could set the whole earth on fire, but the whole earth, as we know, was not set on fire. But the fact that it mentions fire, that could set the earth on fire, it brings up another intriguing point, because in many prophecies, like Akita, Japan, you have Sister Sasagawa there, who had said who had said fire will fall from the sky. She was quoting the Virgin Mary in one of her messages, destroying a greater part of humanity. So fire plays in some way.
Yes.
I don't know if it's metaphoric or literal, but a lot of these visions, if you subscribe to them, make it sound like the fire is literal, not just something that's figurative.
Mm-hmm. And the other connection there is Garabandal, the apparitions there, where there's 3 secrets, and the third one is conditional chastisement that may come upon the earth after the warning and the miracle. And the girls there, the seers of Garabandal, they saw this chastisement. I think they did also see fire, or they saw something that was very extremely catastrophic upon the earth.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that could happen. We forget that there are cosmic forces that are 100 million times the potency of the entire nuclear arsenal, you know. And even then, you're talking of forces that could only budge our planet a little bit off its axis. So I think we are talking about something more, as you began with, gravitational
Yep.
influx in our galaxy, or somewhere else
Yeah.
outside of our galaxy. Who knows? I really don't think we understand the nature of space whatsoever. I think that there is a tremendous spiritual component to space, because during near-death experiences, a lot of people describe leaving their body and going past stars and planets and so forth in the spirit. Um, so it kind of like a convergence of the spirit and the astrophysical, if you will. We don't know. No one
Yes.
really knows. We're just playing games. You see stuff like people saying, "Occupy Mars. Let's go and populate Mars." That's kids' play. I mean, right now, all we can do is explode these vehicles into space. That's so limited and so primitive.
Right.
We're not gonna. Yeah, we can't even get to Mars that way at this
Mm.
point. So, yeah, let alone understand what's really out there, because we really don't have our eyes on the situation as yet.
Sure.
And I don't think we ever will. Not until we're on the other side.
Hello, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Mother in Refuge of the End Times. We are excited to announce that Mother in Refuge will be collaborating with John Leap's ministry to present a once-in-a-lifetime event. We introduce the Exorcism and Deliverance Conference titled Shielding the Children of God. This 2-day event, which culminates in a live worldwide exorcism, will be providentially held on the feast days of St. Benedict and St. Veronica on July 11th and 12th, 2025, held live in New Jersey or online via live stream. With 3 powerful exorcists presenting, as well as an ex-satanic wizard, Zachary King, and more great speakers. We are thrilled to welcome our keynote speaker, Cardinal Simone, Chief of the Catholic Exorcism, known as the Living Martyr. Cardinal Simone was unjustly imprisoned and on death row in communist Albania for 28 years. Now, he is an active universal exorcist and teacher exorcist. He is described by Pope Francis as the exorcist of exorcists. We also welcome Monsignor John Esseff, spiritual son of Padre Pio, and previous spiritual director of Mother Teresa and the Missionaries of Charity. Purchase your conference tickets now for 20% off using coupon code Mother in Refuge. Register now on website www.johnleaps.com or scan this QR code for more details. Don't miss out on this powerful spiritual event. Be strengthened, be restored, and be cleansed.